What makes a good artwork? If you were to ask the average person this question, the response that you would get is, oh, everything in this piece just looks so good together, i.e. composition, and, or most prominently, the colors are so beautiful. This is exactly what we are going to be covering today, color theory. Contrary to the popular belief that color theory is difficult, it can actually be approached with a simpler perspective. In itself, color theory is how colors interact with each other, and how humans perceive them as a result of that interaction. At least that is how it's defined in a traditional sense. The way that I approach it is by simply choosing the colors that look good together. Of course, there's more to that, but on the surface level, that is exactly what it is. This is cool and all, but how do you really know if the colors that you choose look good together? Is it just something that looks good to you, or is it a color combination that is actually interesting to look at? That's the problem that most beginner artists face. They know that color theory gives knowledge of which colors look good together, and that each color produces different emotions, but they don't actually know where to get that info and how to implement it into their work. But to be frank, at this point you're just overthinking it, though some of the basic color theory rules are still applicable. Let's quickly cover them right now. Rule number 1 is using complementary colors to create contrast. But what are complementary colors? I heard this question being asked from the very second I used the word complementary. Opposite. That is what they are. And don't try lying to me. You know what they are. Colors that are opposite to each other, like red and green, blue and orange. Actually, now that I think about it, it is not that simple, but it's still easy to understand. Just search up the color wheel and see which color is directly opposite the one that you want to use. Here, I even included a picture for your convenience. Now the second and most important rule that I follow is to match the colors that I'm using to the theme of my doodle or artwork. That is honestly not a rule of color theory, but one of my personal rules for creating artwork. I know I said there are multiple color theory rules that I follow, and that is because I genuinely thought it. But when I actually got to writing this video, I realized that the only color theory rule that I follow is the use of complementary colors. In reality, I mostly use my own rules and decisions based on the piece that I'm creating. I think that is something that adds to the originality of my work, my color choices if you will. But yeah, as I was saying, my main focus with all my color related decisions is to make a cohesive artwork that fits my concept. And that's probably most applicable to my doodles, as they all have a concept. Like for example, the Iron Giant, which has a retro tech vibe, and so on. I approach colors slightly differently when dealing with paintings and other styles of art, but the gist of it stays the same, staying loyal to the theme. Besides that, I just pick what looks good, and it's really that simple. It is interesting how this video became more of a discovery of how I approach color theory and the creative process, rather than a full focus on the explanation of how simple color theory can actually be. But I hope I was able to achieve both of these goals with this video. Also, as a bonus tip, if you still find yourself struggling with color theory, a very easy thing to do is to use a color palette generator. That is something that I use when I started taking more interest in the colors that I go into my doodles. Not only does it give a good color palette for you to use in your current project, but it also expands your understanding of color theory just by seeing what works. One generator that I personally use is called Coolors. And no, this is not a sponsored video. Have you seen my subscriber count? Like, obviously I'm not sponsored. But if you guys can help a guy out that has helped you out, because I know I did, because you're watching this video, please subscribe. And again, thank you for staying till this moment. I'll catch up with you guys later. See you in the next one.